Yeah, Greek salad, nothing like it. So we have cucumber, tomato, cilantro, red onion, and a couple cloves of garlic, and some olives. I forgot to put the bell pepper.
I'm not a big fan of bell peppers. They're healthy.
Yeah, they are. I don't know why I forgot.
And they go well on Greek salad,
And
so long as they don't overwhelm the tomatoes.
whew, it's warm one.
Yeah, and you laid out some beans for yourself there?
I did. I put white beans with mine. James had some salmon this morning. This is
so
some
she's thinking of protein, right?
Yeah.
I had my protein, you're getting your protein.
So, oregano from the garden.
From my garden, actually.
Yes.
That's about the only thing that long term I've grown.
And so
aside from weeds.
I'm gonna put this on while James is talking about vile bodies.
Vile bodies.
And
I'm not talking about
goat feta.
I'm not talking about the youth of today. I mean, all you got to do is look around and see. Oh my God.
Some
we
big
were
kids.
looking at some kids today cycling, and Pauline was feeling sorry for the bicycles.
Well, at least you know they were getting out.
They were getting out there. I shouldn't really laugh because who knows?
If you're big, well,
yeah,
you
work at it.
You can work at it.
I can remember I used to play soccer in the Alberta Major League, and I don't know why the guy did it, but he'd run around the track, around the field here in Lethbridge, while we were playing, and I can remember so many of the guys, they'd be sneering at this guy because so many of the guys on our soccer team, because he was old and he kind of looked like in the way. He'd trudge around. He wouldn't jog around even, much less run around. He'd trudge around, and he had quite a midriff on him. And
by the end of the soccer season, though, how?
Oh, and it wasn't the end of the soccer season. I saw him maybe 10 years later.
Okay.
And he was still trudging around. He wasn't any faster, but he'd lost all that weight. Now, the skin was lying kind of flabbily around and stuff like that, but I was just, like I wanted to tell the guys, but you gotta shut up. They weren't really saying it to him, but they were kind of sneering. He must have known. And but you gotta kind of be loyal to your team and not get into fights and all that sort of stuff. So, but I was just saying, not you go guy, but you've gone guy. That's awesome. Just working through the sneers, trudging along, doing it. You'd see him, it was just a regular sort of thing. And he did it. He had this dream, and that's the way to fulfill the dream. Someone once said, I don't know who it was, the best way to make your dreams come true is to wake up. The best way to make your dreams come true is to wake up. And he woke up one point in time, and he just said, I'm going to stay awake. That's the other thing. Wake up and stay awake. And he took that sensible sort of thing, just getting out there. He did the New Year's resolution or whatever, and instead of giving up on it a week in or a month in, he kept on going for years, trudging around,
you tell me when
not beating himself up or anything like that.
Is that good, or do you want
Oh,
more?
That's awesome. That'll be plenty fun. Wow. Anyway, Vile Bodies. Evelyn Waugh. I think this dates to 1930. This says a new edition. I don't think he had much to do with revising it or anything like that. When was the new edition? It's 1968, 38. He might have still been alive, but I think they just fancied it up or whatever. It is hardcover. We get this compliments of some library or another, and it's a discard. We don't steal books from libraries or anything like that.
Hey, when they throw them out.
Yeah, when they throw them out. Like they throw them in the garbage if you complain about them throwing books out. So this, I guess at one time was considered a classic. I think this guy was supposed to be, of the youthful. It's always youthful generation. They're always cutting edge. They don't realize how stupid they look to people that are a little bit older who have seen a new wave come in, and then another one 5 years later, whatever. 10 years later, and then another one. And eventually, when you get to be my age, 67, I'm not as old as my dad, he's 98 and a half. But you see a new wave coming in, and you say, I've seen all this before many times. It's just the style changes. but the basic attitude doesn't. Is, hey, we know best. Anything that came before is history. What's that? That's old history. It's useless. All this sort of stuff. I understand most solutions are absolutely garbage. You know, like I'm looking to the future, but you know, the way you make sure that that you're heading towards a future that's actually a little bit better and not significantly worse is you study history. You don't use the formulas, the formulaic formulas that have been used before. They generally have failed. What you do is you look for things that have worked, and you just do experiments. That's why I believe in democracy, and that's why I believe in the scientific method. They work together. Really, what democracy is about is it's an experiment. But it's an experiment where you pull the plug if it doesn't work.
Not on democracy. Don't pull the plug on democracy.
Don't pull the plug on democracy, but you pull the plug on whatever things that you, you know, like things that you might think are democratic or whatever. You know, one thing that I wish they'd pull the plug on, but they just plugged it in right now. It probably won't work because already there are complaints. What is it? I'm hearing about it on CBC. Justin Trudeau, special program for, I don't think it's funding, I think it's for loans. I don't know if it's a low interest or what, rates or whatever, for black entrepreneurs in Canada. You know, like Canada during the slave era in the United States was a place where black people fled to from the United States. They were refugees. In other words, yeah, I doubt if we treated black people terribly well, or African American, whatever the buzzword is right now. But it was a place to flee to. So, you know, like in absolute terms, it wasn't that good, I suppose. But in relative terms, it was very good. So I don't know if we have much of a history where we should be going, oh, we should be doing reparations or conciliations as opposed to reconciliations and this sort of stuff. So what is this about a special program for black entrepreneurs?
Well,
you know, and the thing that bugs me, you go because
it's to get people's right now the aggressive propagandists are trying to divide everybody.
Yep.
So a lot of people will be, I know I'll hear James, he'll be, gosh, you know, why are they doing this, blah blah blah, and I'm like, well, they're doing this to make you feel that way. You know, it's they'll report something on the publicly funded radio station, and it's whatever government measures or things are taking place right now or whatever, and or it could be about race. A lot of it's about race right now, and it's
that's all they care about.
Yeah, it's basically
it trumps everything.
It's manufactured
it trumps ecology, really. The
racism. It's not even what they're doing is they're trying to provoke racism in Canada. So when you're listening to the CBC and you're like, gosh, you know, why are they doing this? This isn't fair. They're doing it so that you feel that way. They want you to feel like one group is being favored over another, and things are not, there's no equality in Canada. That's what they want you to feel. So don't react to it.
So people are going around saying there's systemic racism. And in some places, among certain circles, yeah. But you can't fight systemic racism with systematic racism. And that's what's happening. When you single out indigenous or African American entrepreneurs and treat them specially, it's not what democracy is about. It's equality of opportunity. They're getting extra opportunity. That's wrong. That's wrong. Ethically, it's wrong, and morally, it's wrong. And you know what? in terms of practice, it's wrong, because I can't argue against what Pauline is saying, because frankly, no one can be that dumb and think that they can treat one group's preferentially and think that other groups aren't. And I'm not just talking about white people, I'm talking about people of different color from blacks and not white. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that work really hard. For example, Koreans. What do you think of Koreans? Koreans think of blacks or African Americans in the United States. They know that they get preferential treatment anytime that there's a race riot, because it really is a race riot. Because what happens is it's not just white-owned stores that get plundered, it's Korean-owned stores that get plundered and burned and smashed up. What do you think they think? You know, that there's classic cases of systemic racism. African Americans are allowed to do that with impunity. What happens is whatever they want now to get done, okay, let's railroad a cop or something like that. Okay, there we go. And they're cheeky about it. You can see the guy, Chauvin, there's a guy who was kibitzing on the sidelines during George Floyd's unintended suicide, and suicide by drugs, not by cops. And he's saying, you're going to pay, you know, he's saying to Chauvin, you watch, you're going to get it. And, oh, of course, you know, like basically what's happening is, I'm not going to call it a lynching, because guy is not going to die. He might die in jail. Who knows what
But honestly,
Chauvin
when you're
in jail.
resisting arrest with the police, that is like suicide by cop anyway. Honestly, who would do that?
Who would do that, especially with a gut full of fentanyl and amphetamines and Lord knows what all else. Still recovering, presumably from a case of COVID, and that apparently has been documented. And after having ravaged his heart with it looks like long-term steroid abuse. You know, well, anyway. This is what's happening in the place where, I'm going to call it right now, any place where there's a death penalty and they start doing these demonstrations, it's just a lynch mob. You know? We want this cop to die.
It is warm.
It's very warm.
Warm day. But it's supposed to go to 37 tomorrow. Only 32 today, so we'll see.
Well, actually, I was hearing the report on CBC saying 36 today.
Oh, they am today.
So, Wild Body. Evelyn Waugh. I read it now.
Let's see if that stays a bit cooler there.
I recall someone saying recently to me, I got a better sense of humor than you. I did apologize for that. You know, it's lucky I had a good sense of humor. Oh, where's this coming from? I should, I suppose, have blown my stack. But it just seems so irrelevant. Who cares? That one was easy to forgive. But I don't forget. I never do.
No, me neither.
That was hilarious. I almost just burst out. I go with a big guffaw. Anyway, I'm not mentioning who it was. But, yeah, I read this, and I'm going, wow, it just ain't that funny. This guy was supposed to be maybe the top comic novelist in the English, maybe in English, but maybe in English, written in English, of its time. I'm going, wow, this ain't that funny. It's about as funny as Wyndham Lewis, who's kind of an honorary or dishonorary Canadian. I think he was born in Canadian waters in Nova Scotia water.
Oh.
On a ship or a boat. Kind of weird. I'd rather not claim. He hung around with a bunch of fascists and Nazi sympathizers and stuff like that. And he claimed to be a bit of an artist or something like that. Yeah. Wyndham Lewis. So I read one of his novels. It's a satire. It's about the same. Not much better than Waugh. Not much worse. a little bit obvious, but I'm telling you, when I read fiction, if it's short of James Joyce or something like that, maybe Proust, I'm just going, it's a cartoon, it's caricature. They've got some sort of I'm going to have to read, but read the novel Atwood's. What is that one that was turned into a TV series?
Oh, Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, I'm going to have to read it because the TV series is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
She's got a bee in her bonnet about Christianity, and I don't know what all else. But here she's got them doing, I guess, like polygamy or something like that, or at least concubines. Say what? You find polygamy and definitely concubines in the Bible, but not in the New Testament.
Yeah.
I don't think there are too many Christians. There are some out there that believe in following the edicts of the Old Testament. The stuff I was raised on was understood. There was a New Testament as opposed to an Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Old Testament was there as a historical thing. So you go, this is where it came from.
Yeah. All that
This
stuff
is the evolution of the faith.
was theoretically in abeyance after the New Testament. That's the whole idea. At least according to, I think, the standard Protestant interpretation. I think the Catholic interpretation too. It's made perfectly clear to Peter in the vision that it's okay to eat non-kosher foods. It's okay. The vision was something like, rise and eat. Peter, just chow down there. Well, that's one thing, but there's any number of things like circumcision, not necessary anymore. Okay, so what that does is, you extend it and you say, okay, these things, across the board don't necessarily apply. So, and set in, I think she thought it was cool. Setting it, I think it's supposed to be set in Massachusetts someplace. Right? Maybe Boston.
God, that's good.
Because, hey, Massachusetts, Salem is just like, I think it's northeast of Boston.
God, that's good.
Basically be part of greater Boston, I'm pretty sure nowadays. And, hey, witch trials there. When was that, 300 plus years ago? Come on. You look at the United States now, and maybe the most enlightened area of the United States. And it's been this way for a long time, hundreds of years. It's been the Boston area. So how are they going to go back to this weird thing that never really existed in Christianity anyway? So someone, the way it's presented is a cautionary tale that's got to be read because the Christians are just sitting there waiting there. Hey, we can hardly wait to get back to concubinage, and I think
I know where she's coming from.
Okay.
But
yeah, maybe we better not mention.
It.
Maybe she was just worried about Mormons. Eh?
No.
Yeah, I know. I think down deep in her gut, she was actually much more artistic than she was in her head.
Well, I think she knows enough to. I think she's a really bright woman. I actually like reading her stuff. She doesn't. Her characters are not written well.
In other words, they don't exist.
Yeah, I don't think
they're not real.
Recognizes
real
other people as being people.
Yeah.
A lot of writers have this problem.
Yeah, most fiction writers.
But she's bright, and I think she knows.
She knows a lot.
Which things she can poke at and which she's got to stay clear of. And this is a way that she's able to poke. Right?
Maybe.
Anyway.
She's been brighter about some things than most other. What are we calling them now? I got to be careful. Aggressive propagandists. She's brighter than them.
Yeah. Anyway.
I make a distinction between being bright and knowledgeable.
I was going to talk about this for a minute. John Saul's, their right hand of evil. That's funny. This is the first time I looked at the title of the book.
There you go. And you've gone all the way through it.
Yeah. I just looked at John Saul and I'm like, okay.
So this is not John
used to-
Ralston Saul,
No,
right?
I used to read this when I was a young teen, like maybe 13 or something. I used to read this author, and I can't remember which books I read. I read Suffer the Children. I hadn't read this one. So I had it around. I decided, okay. And I expected it to be really creepy. I wanted to read it with this other one because this one I read and I'm like, oh, nobody should read that. So disturbing. And what's disturbing in this is that the account of the father is the main character that you follow. He's really the story, right? But it's everybody that he's interacting with that you get the story about him through, right? So the one daughter was, I'd have to say, molested by because she was only 5 and she was playing doctor with a 12-year-old. So it's a little bit gross, but it was way too descriptive. So nobody would want to read that unless, well, I guess some people might. But
there's
yuck.
some people, you know.
So I wouldn't recommend that book to anyone. So I've talked about it before. Safe in Heaven Dead, was that what it was called?
Safe
Yeah.
in Heaven Dead or something.
Don't read it. Awful. But
Who wrote it? Samuel Ligon or something?
It was way too, it seemed too real. I don't have a problem with the horror. I remember a woman was reading some John Saul stuff and she was like, oh, it's so disgusting. She must have been reading stuff for the children because that would, anyway. But at the same time, it doesn't seem real. So it's like, this one, you have the Catholic sort of feel of things, demon possession and some animal sacrifice and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I found it really scary when I was young, but now it's like, gosh, the real world is much scarier than that. Like, this doesn't seem real, right?
Yeah, horror
once you
never
grow
scared-
up, you're like, you see how artificial these stories are, and it's just something you can scare kids with, but really, once you get older and you see the world,
Real scary things.
it doesn't scare you anymore. So, honestly, I didn't mind this book. I can see why I liked reading his stuff when I was young. He actually strings some sentences together well and keeps you reading.
Yeah.
So,
Basically, that's all that writers really are expert in doing. Some of them aren't that good at that. It's just stringing phrases together into sentences and sentences and paragraphs into chapters and chapters into books.
and boy,
That's all they're
I'm
good
really
at.
happy with our meal today.
It's
I've
awesome.
been cooking beans in the crock pot outside so I don't heat up the house.
Yeah, the house is
And-
already 27 and a half.
Already this morning, yeah.
That's not degrees
we try to
Fahrenheit.
blow the heat through the house and out the door during the night, but it's still, when you're in a heat wave like this, it just keeps building and building.
Yeah.
But I got my second vaccination today of Moderna.
Yeah, so we got to
And
watch it with Pauline.
Yeah, I want to stay really hydrated, right? So Greek salad with the cucumbers, that's really, and then, I didn't tell you what the dressing is. It's just lemon juice and olive oil. I put more olive oil on James's because he likes it more.
I like
That's a
olive
cold
oil.
pressed extra virgin olive oil. And about 1 lemon between the two of us. But it varies how much you want to put of everything because James doesn't like the
I'm
lemon
not
as
a
much.
big fan of lemons.
So I don't put very much on his, and I put more on mine because I'm going to juice 1 lemon. So mine ends up a little more lemony. I love lemon.
Yeah.
So, whereas he doesn't. So,
Well, my system doesn't like it. It likes it a whole lot more. I'm on monoclonal antibodies for multiple myeloma, but until I started that stuff, even with stem cell therapy and junk like that, and on Revlimid, I still had GERD. That'd be from the hypercalcemia.
yeah.
And of course, the doctors weren't able to pick that up for 9 years. I had all sorts of symptoms that would indicate hypercalcemia, which comes, they say, in 30% of the cases. Docs. I'm sure it's in every case. It's just some people don't present to doctors with these symptoms. They sit and they just let the symptoms chew
Yeah.
them up.
Yeah,
Hmm?
maybe. My arm, I got it in this arm today because the guy that was giving me the shot, he was a very nice, caring sort of fellow.
Yeah, yeah.
And-
How often does that happen in the medical system?
And
Yeah.
he was worried about this shoulder. You've seen how this one's injured, it's big. So he put it in this arm instead. But now I'm having it's a little bit sore. I'm having a harder time feeding.
Oh man, it's sore already, eh?
Yeah, it's already.
Not a good sign.
But he did say that a lot of people are getting much more severe symptoms off the second, and I'd heard that on the radio.
And you had the
thing-
Moderna one, which apparently is a bit better than Pfizer for
Oh
some
yes.
reason. I had the
So-
Pfizer thing. Second time out, symptoms, side effects, I should say, were less than the first
But
time.
I'm not getting this shot for me. I'm getting it for other people, because I expect James is going to end up picking up the possibility of COVID from, he has to go to the hospital all the time.
3 times a month.
Yeah. And in any case, we live in the city. If it were up to me, we wouldn't be in the city. I'd be growing our own food in the country. We wouldn't come in. We'd just ride it out in the country until they sort out this, because this is going to be repeated shots people are going to need.
I'm afraid
Ongoing,
the way it's going,
ongoing.
I don't know
And
when they're going to smarten up.
yeah. So this is, every time you expose yourself to a vaccine, you expose yourself to some potential risks too. And in any case, and when you expose yourself to people in the city, you have to be vaccinated, really. Or that's the responsible thing to do. So what do you do, right? You shouldn't expose yourself to people in the city either. Oh, expose yourself. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. You're laughing at me right now. Anyway.
It shouldn't be. I mean, people are going, oh my God, let's make a straw person out of her.
Anyway. No.
Anyway,
But
People
people
should
could be
know.
doing that right now, and they're not, which I'm really impressed with people when they're wearing a mask. They could be wearing nothing else but the mask, and they would probably get away with it without getting charged. But they're not exposing themselves. And that shows me that maybe, as much as I'm not thrilled with people in other ways, like there's some things that some people are doing and I'm shaking my head about. But there's, a lot of people are really quite good and decent, law-abiding, whatever.
you see more people now giving you room if there's a boulevard, they'll
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
At first, people were pretty inconsiderate.
yeah. And
Because we used to be the only ones who doing it. People would be looking at us like, have we got fleas? I was afraid someone would pound us out,
yeah. But anyway, so I would recommend the John Salt stuff. I don't know, if you're into horror sort of stuff, yeah, there's some gruesome sort of whatever. That's the genre.
Well, if you're reading horror, get ready.
And honestly, with that other one, Safe in Heaven Dead, it's terrible. I think what he was trying to say, like when he was talking about there was a scene in the book where the wife and he are having sex and she's on top of him and there's the daughter's at the door and she's like, so-and-so, the son's he's using scissors. And the mother's like, well, just help him with it. And, because she doesn't want to stop having sex. And, so the little girl's like, but it's dangerous. And she's like, just help him use the scissors.